Hub, and I'm happy to have you here today. I gave in some few minutes before the start of the session so that all of us could join in so that we can start off at once. So I welcome you all. Thank you. Today we shall be talking more about templates, how you go about with templates in a very important way, having templates that will help you in your structural detailing. It is something that is so good so that you always have consistency in how you produce your details. Okay, so this session will generally guide us how to build a structured and an efficient template that we can use over and over again. Okay, we shall take you through the step-by-step process on how we get to know this, on how we get to develop a template. And I'm sure at the very end, we shall as well share with you the template that we shall develop in today's class. So I would like to hear from us. The floor is open to all of us to at least share, and you let us know where you're joining us from this very lovely evening. Uh, Anyone to take us away?
Yes, Lieutenant Duncan, tuning in here from Uganda.
Yes,
Um,
Duncan. Thank you for joining us today.
yeah, you're welcome. I'm excited to to see some other ventures in this template creating because it really gives us so much time to start from scratch. So I think it will be a beneficial one.
Yes. Thank you so much, Duncan, for sharing with us. Someone else to share with us where you're joining us from and maybe your expectations for today's class. Yes, Regan, just unmute and you.
My name is Okum Regan Otim from Uganda. I'm so glad and happy to be part of today's session. I love how creating a template is my work because every time you have to develop things from scratch, you'll be delaying time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Regan, for sharing with us. Uh, See, a lot of people are joining in from Uganda, from Kenya. Okay, I'm personally joining in from Uganda, so thank you, everyone. Let me hear from someone else.
Hello.
Hello, Joel.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes, can
My
hear
name is
you.
Joel Kirego. I'm joining from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm a construction management student, and creating templates is a new thing to me. So I really look forward to it, and I hope it will be an insightful one. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Joel. Thank you. We are happy to have you here, and we are happy to learn together here as well. Okay. Anyone else to share with us?
Hello, everyone.
Hello, I don't know whether you can hear me.
Yes, Santo, we can hear you.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Santo.
Thank you. I'm Okot Santo. I'm tuning in from Uganda. I happen to be one of the students in the last boot camp organized by Roadsap. Yeah, from that time when the boot camp ended, I really struggled we could struggle to do a lot of work from the scratch, and I feel having this template will help us save a lot of time, and we deliver the work so fast. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Santo, for sharing with us, engineer. It's actually something very good. I'm sure you have learned now a lot. You have learned how all those things come up, how you come up with your annotations, you come up with everything that entails your detailing. That was the best thing that you learned in. So now having this as part of your package would actually be the very best. You will get to know how to turn all that you've learned into one package so that you keep on applying it each and every time in all your drawings. I think that's something good. Thank you, Santo, for sharing with us. Okay, can I hear from someone else? I've heard from Uganda, I've heard from Kenya. Anyone else? Okay, I see Onun Ofen all the way from Nigeria. Hello, engineer. Okay, I guess he's not in a position to share with us here. All right, can I hear from just two more people? Then we start off today. You tell us where you're joining us from this lovely evening and your expectations for today's session. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, gents. My name's Abdul Boss. I'm joining from London, United Kingdom, and I'm a good friend of James Morinti. He advised me to have a look Revit. I haven't done Revit anyway. To last maybe I always do 3D and highway projects and stuff like that. Pretty much delivering for highway 3D, and this one I just want to have a rough idea and see how things going on. And yeah, it's good. Thanks for your the Gracia.
Thank you. Thank you so much, boss. Thank you for joining us all the way from London. We are so happy to have you here and to learn with us. I'm so much grateful to have you. Thank you. I see
Hello.
Vincent. Hello.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm a civil engineering student in Nigeria. I'm so glad I was able to join this platform and I hope to learn a whole lot new.
Okay. How familiar are you with Revit, engineer?
I just started a few weeks ago, but my
Okay.
progress is up and steady.
Okay. That's good to hear. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. I see Vincent. Vincent, how are you doing, engineer? It's been a while.
Hello, good evening, engineer, and good evening, everyone. I'm doing well. I'm so happy to be here. I'm joining you from Uganda, and it's been quite interesting. I've been developing my skills in Revit. I'm glad to say I'm a graduate of the first cohort, that's I think cohort 5. So it's really an interesting community skills that I've gained and how they're impacting me and just around me. So I couldn't afford to miss this. Yeah, so thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to learning. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, engineer. It's always a pleasure to have you here. Okay. I think we are good to go and we are good to start off today's class. I see a lot of people here. All right. I see Engineer Obed. Hello, engineer. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while, Engineer Deogratius. I'm doing great, and I hope you're doing great too. And I'm so glad to be part of the group today and to be able to learn as much as I can. Thank you very much.
Okay. How good are you now with the Revit? Are we now on point?
Yeah, sure. I'm so much better.
Thank you. I thank you. Obed was one of our outstanding participants. He did a lot of good stuff here. We're happy to have you here to learn how we can make work even more easier and better. All right. So could there be anyone else wishing to share with us where they're joining us from before I hand over to our lead for today? Captain Gatimu is going to take us through today's class.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening, Francis.
I've just joined now.
Yes.
I'm from Kenya.
Okay. And maybe share with us your expectations for today's class, and maybe how familiar are you with Revit?
Okay, I'm still a beginner, but still in the learning process.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is very good. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. All right. So with that, I would like to welcome us all for this session. For all those that joined us a bit late, today's session we shall be talking about how to produce templates and automating everything. How to produce templates that is very structured and that is very good, that can help you do detailing in a more fast, and it actually improves your workflow as you continue doing your work in structural modeling, detailing, and documenting. It is something very good so that you can always have consistent drawings, not this one being like this and the other one having different things. So that is one thing that we shall be doing here today. Apply to every project. That's literally what we're going to be doing here. Hub is a place where ultimate engineers grow. It's a place where we share ideas, we build great minds, and that is it. We shall talk more about everything in the due course of the session. And thank you. That is it from me. Captain Gatimo, are you set now to start us off?
Hello, dear gracious. Yes, I am.
Hello,
Am I audible? Can
Yes, you're
you
audible.
hear me clearly?
Yes, you're very audible.
Nice. Thank you so much for running the information session for us. And once again, very honored to have everyone here with us. I can see very many familiar names. And I'm really, really happy to have all of you here. Nice to have you. I can see the likes of Lovie, I can see Lynette, I can see Newton, I can see Okot, I can see Okumu Regan, also Tim Wambi. Nice to see you. Nice to see everyone here. And we are going to have another hopefully beautiful session together. And I hope it is going to be the start of something that is going to make your life a bit easier. All right. So with that said, I'd like to go directly to my presentation. It's a bit lengthy. And we have a lot to cover. So I'll just go straight. I hope I welcomed you enough. I hope you feel at home, number one, but it's going to be a bit lengthy. So I'm just going to go straight to what I have. So the reason we are creating Revit templates is to avoid this. Okay. So number one, Revit is here to at least make our work a bit easier, right? And every time you have to set out everything from scratch, every time you have to set out how your rebars appear, how your tags are, how you are going to set out the grids, every time you have to set that out if from scratch when you're starting a project, it makes it a bit tiresome to use. And it may not give you the edge that we ideally promised you when you are joining, say, the Revit trainings, or what they promise you when they ask you to shift from Revit to AutoCAD, from AutoCAD to Revit, right? So The reason we create template is for us to standardize everything and automate some of the tasks, right? So some of the tasks that you're going to be automating is creating the tags so that every time you start a project, you already have the tags set. Every time you start a project, you have all the views set out so that you don't have to keep on hiding everything from scratch. It is not going to work for everything, but it is going to remove most of the minuscule works that we usually do when we are working with Revit. All right. So before I go to my presentation, I wanted to show you a few things. And then as I take you through this, we are going to have a brief discussion. And then I'm going to show you what I want us to do. All right. Or I'm going to give you the general flow of what you're going to be doing during this session. So these are just sample drawings that I have. You can see how they look. They look a bit nice. They can communicate, but if someone was to give me this drawing, I would just know that it has been done by someone who has not used the software for very long, or it doesn't look very professional, right? And that is what I want us to correct, or I want us to, to basically improve on during today's session. So basically, this is what we have. I think this is all. This is what we achieve when we work with Revit the first time. And after you've worked with Revit the first time, or you've worked on project or two, then you need to improve your workflows. You need to be a bit more efficient. You don't need to create the tags every time. You don't need to set out your views every time you're working on it. So I want us to move from this, okay? I want us to move from drawings that look like this, where we don't have much control over everything, so basically from this isn't too shabby, but I want us to move from this to drawings where we have much more control, where we can set out, where we have basically control over everything that we want to print or how we want our drawings to look, all right? And these settings that are going to be applying, they are majorly going to be the foundation of your own templates, all right? So we are going to be talking about the pain points that we have found with Revit. I know the question that I'm asked the most is how to change the color of the rebars or how to change how certain lines appear. So you can have all that in your template, and you're going to start with that. And basically, that's what we're going to do. So I just want you to look at this. I want you to look at how this drawing looks like. Okay. I want you to look at this. You can see how the views are represented. Okay. And then you could also just look at what we have in these other drawings. They're not too bad, but they can be improved on, and we can also automate them a bit. All right. And then I also want you to look on these other projects, and I just want you to see the difference, right? So in this one, I want you to look at how the shading has been applied. Some people may prefer to have this type of shading or that hatching. Some people may prefer not to have it. Okay, that is totally up to you. And what I'm going to be basically taking you through this session is how to make those changes and to apply them in a manner that sticks. So that if you prefer to have that type of shading, whenever you start your project, you have this shading by default. If you don't prefer to have it, or if you prefer not to have it, then how do you get to have those settings by default whenever you're starting a project? Also, how do you get to have these tags in your project or have multiple tags in your projects whenever you're starting a new project? That is what I want us to do. But before I get to take you through what I want us to do, or before I get to take you through the general flow of this particular 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 uh, webinar, I'd like to hear from a few of you. I'd like to hear just one thing that you've completely struggled with, one thing that you would want included in your template, and then you're going to proceed from there. Anyone? Anyone willing to go first? I'll just hear from 2 or 3 people to save on time. Anyone willing to go first? Anyone?
Good evening.
Good evening, engineer.
With the time I've worked with Revit, I've really struggled to modify my grid such that where the letters usual and the circling they can fit into the size of the drawing.
Okay. Thank you, Mark, for that. Someone else. Just one thing you've struggled with, or something that you would need automated.
Good evening.
Good evening, Magdalene.
I think the only thing that I would want automated is the multi-riba tag. Yes.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Someone else. Two more people.
Good evening.
Two more. Good evening, engineer.
I think Magdalene has touched on it. I think mine is knowing what the tags for various reinforcement, whether it's beam rate tags, there's some you tag by category, some are multi. Yeah, I think if that can be automated to know which one is for which and which one is for which, I think it might be easier when modeling. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, engineer. Someone else. One more person.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I guess mine can also be related to that of tags, but like when I'm tagging sections of maybe beams or columns, the annotation seems much, I don't know, out of size.
Okay.
Yeah, and when I'm cutting sections,
Yeah.
the proper color to use or that, what do you call it? I don't know whether it stand me. Yeah, but I think those two.
Okay. Thank you, Timothy. I'll proceed from there. I think I'm going to be presenting on a lot today, and I'm going to request for a bit more time. I genuinely don't think I'll end the session at 10 p.m. So I'll just apologize in advance. So I'll just ask you to stay alone. We may go a bit late, probably 10:30, but it will be for the benefit of all of us. So this is what we're going to be doing today. We are hosting a webinar on Revit templates. And basically, template is a file that comes with preset settings. Okay. And for those who are not, for those who are new to Revit, whenever you are working with Revit, you need a template. You need a template. So when you are new to Revit, we start with a base template. Okay. And the base template that we use is one that is more in line with the work that we are doing. So what Autodesk did when they were creating Revit. So I'll just give you a story, a brief history of what used to happen. So if you look at the Revit versions of say 2013 going backwards, they used to exist as three different softwares. You had a software for Revit architecture, you had a software for Revit structure, and you had a software for Revit pipe. But as time evolved or as time moved on, also the workflows moved on. And we needed to move to a point where we could all exist in one environment. All right. And Revit was the first software that all different disciplines could actually work in one environment. You could have your architects working in one environment, and in the same environment, your engineers could use it, your MEP team could use it, everyone, basically anyone in the AC team could find their own space in the same environment. And that is what Revit is, okay? Or basically that is what Revit promises. But for them to bring those softwares together, or for them to be able to bring everything together, they needed to find a way to make this software a bit lighter, right? And that's where we ended up with templates. So by default, you're going to get a template that can facilitate the workflows that you are say carrying on. If you are an architect, there are going to be templates, just base templates that will facilitate your work. You will need certain walls. You will probably need curtain walls. You will need windows. So you have a template that comes with those preloaded families and settings to assist you. But for the engineer, he may not need, or they may not need the windows. They may not need the doors. They may not need other architectural, say, families. Okay, so to make the software a bit more efficient, we needed to separate these families so that it is not too heavy. Okay, you can imagine if you had one thing that had all the families, it would be so heavy to use. So just to make it more efficient, there's the different the different the different okay, the different professions uh, were assigned, or they had templates assigned to them. So when you're working with Revit, when you are using and when you are new to it, you're probably going to create a new project. And then you're going to be prompted to select a template that facilitates your workflows. But once you're working with these default templates, you have to keep on setting you have to keep on making settings whenever you're working with them. So for example, we have standards when it comes to tags. So when you're working with the software the first time, you have to keep on setting these tags. How do you want them to be arranged? What parameters do you want in your tag? So that is what happens when you work with the software the first time. But as you work with the software the first, the second, or the third time, you need to reduce the amount of effort you put into setting up the software. Okay? You do not need to create multi-riba tags every time you use it. You do not need to you do not need to annotate your beams manually every time you are working on it. So after you've worked with the software a few times, then you can create a standardized template just to make you a bit faster and also to standardize your works. So that is what a template is. It is just a group of preset settings and loaded families that facilitate your workflows. So for now, you've already worked with what is default, okay, with the primary templates. So we want to move you from there to a file that you could use, or a file that is a bit more advanced than what you have by default, okay? And basically that is what you're going to be doing during this webinar. So the first question would be, if you're going to be working with a template, if you have already pre-configured settings in your environment, what are these particular settings? What would you need in your template, or what would you need to be pre-configured so that you can be a bit fast? Okay, so I want you to think about that as we progress. I have a general idea of what I have in my own template, or what I have developed for other people. So there are things that you need to have in your template, basically to eliminate the repetitive setups, also to ensure consistency in your drawings, and to reduce errors. All right. So in this template that I'm going to be doing, these are the things that we want to achieve. We want to eliminate the repetitive setup. So now that you already understand how to create a tag, you do not need to do that every time. All right? You could have that in your template so that by the time you're finishing modeling your rebar, you could just apply it directly. Number two, if you are working with a farm, or if you want to create a template for your farm, you want to achieve some consistency. Okay, you want to have the drawings that were probably created by me matching what Gracious does. You want to have that consistency also, so that if someone leaves your farm mid-project, someone else can come, take over the work, and they're going to achieve the same quality of drawing. So it is more of a standardization, especially if you are working with many people. All right. But if it's your own personal template, apart from standardizing your work, it is also going to reduce the amount of time you take setting up your project. All right. So that is what the template is here to do. And because we said Revit is used by multiple professions, Revit has can have different templates. You can have your architectural templates, your structural templates, your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing templates, or also coordination templates. These templates will have different settings preset in them, and they'll have different families loaded in them. All right. And the reason we are having them pre-configured or preset is so that we can reduce the amount of effort we have to apply downstream. Right? So that if I start modeling my rebar right now, I don't need to get to my slabs and then I need to do my tags again. I don't want to do that. So I want to have them pre-configured from the start. And then whenever I start my project, I will have them with me. Okay, so these are just the various types of templates that we have. But for the purposes of this webinar, yes, what you're going to be learning today is something that you can apply to the other templates. But for the purposes of this webinar, we are majorly going to focus on creating a structural template. All right, and you're going to share this template with you as well. So when we are talking about a template, there are things that you have to do. There are certain things that are important in your own template. Okay, so the first one that we personally have with our templates is a starting page, and our starting page is basically a page that informs whoever is joining your team or whoever is looking at your project what kind of project they are going to be working on. It basically provides them with information. Okay, so when you open a project, you want to know, who is preparing this project or who is working on this project, who are the other team members. Okay, if you're working with a team, you want to set out rules for how they are going to work together. Okay, if you're working a team, you've probably set up a few PCs such that you can use the same project. So you want to know who is in control of making changes. So these are things that have to be set out from the beginning so that if, say, I leave or I recuse myself from working on the project at this particular point, if Deogratius comes in, if Alan comes in, they can just continue and they know where I left off and what I was working on. And then also if you are working with teams, if you're working on projects, you need to set out deadlines even before you start the project so that you can check them as time goes on. So this is basically a starting page. It just gives out the layout of information of how the project is supposed to flow and just basically to give you information. All right, that is what the starting page is. I'm going to show you how to set these out. Okay, we are going to show you how to create these in just a few. So I'll just go back to my presentation and talk about the other things. So the other thing that we have is the browser organization. So the browser organization is important because when working with Revit, you're going to end up with a lot of views. You're going to end up with a lot of views. You can see this is a project that has been worked on and it has a lot of views. You can see you have your ground floor, you have your structural plans, you have your other views, and you need to find a way to order them so that they do not become chaotic. All right. You want to know which views you want to print and which views you're not going to be printing. So you want to order your templates. All right. So this is what you're going to be talking about in the browser organization. Okay. And then apart from that, we are also going to talk about the view settings. And the view settings, we are going to be talking about the appearance majorly. All right. We want to set our template in such a manner that if you cut a column section, it will primarily open with certain settings already attached to it. So if you want to have the hatching with your sections, then you can have them by default. All right. If you don't want to have the hatching, then you can just turn them off by default. We want to have that in our template. And that is what we are going to be setting in the view settings. So in the view settings, we are going to be working with something called view templates. And view templates are going to be affecting the items we see in a particular view and how they appear. So you're going to be setting view templates for the plan views. So that is for your beam and column layouts. You're going to be setting view templates for our rebar. If you're working, with our C slabs, you can have a setting for that. You could also have a different view template for your foundation layout. You could have a view template for your, for your beam sections, your column sections, and your cross sections as well, so that whatever you want to have as a preset standard, it is easy to flow with. It is easy to maintain. We are also going to set other things. If you look at this work here, okay, if you are to go at this work, to look at this work here, you're going to notice something. Let me see which one that was. So sometimes, or if you've worked with Revit before, everything in Revit is annotative. That is, it changes with the scale, right? So if you have certain dots to show you where your rebar is, you may want to have these filled dots with different diameters, so that when you cannot increase the radius, or so that when you cannot increase the scale, then you can choose a smaller diameter. Okay, those are some of the things that you're going to be doing. So just to elaborate on that, I'll go to uh, a wall section over here. Let me see if I have a wall section over here. So I'll just open one wall section over here. And if you look at this looks sufficient, right? It looks good. But what if you are working on a project that has more stories, say 6 stories, 7 stories, or even 8 stories, and you cannot afford to use a scale of 1:50? Okay, so if you use this 2 millimeter dot, then with a scale of 1:50, you can have a good looking drawing, right? But if I was to reduce the scale to say 1:75 over here, then it becomes a bit chaotic. The 2 millimeter dot that looked a bit smaller in the other scale, it looks a bit larger here. Okay, so I want us to create these elements so that we can have them preset in the software, so that when you are creating your tag, when you are creating your dimension style for this tag, you can have multiple dots. By default, you're going to have the 2 and the 3 millimeter dots, but you're going to show you how you can create even a 1 millimeter diameter dot so that you can have them in your template. Also, how you can have text with different text types, so that when you don't have the liberty of playing around with the scale as I have at this particular point, you could always work with a smaller text. All right. Those are some of the settings that you would want to have already in your template, even before you start working. All right. So just going back to my template, then we are going to have different families. And for families and components, it is easier to do this if you're working with or if you're creating a template from a project you've worked on. All right. And that's why I was saying that it would only be fair enough to create a template once you've worked on a project or two, so that you know the type of families you're more likely to work with and have them in your template. All right. And then the others are basically the level and grids. So one of the biggest challenges that I also faced, I think it's Mark who's mentioned this, you're going to have such grid heads, right? If you look at this grid head over here, there's so much space between the grid head and where the symbol is, right? So we need to find a way of reducing or having grid heads with multiple diameters, so that when we do not have the liberty of increasing the scale, okay? When we do not have the liberty of increasing the scale, then we can opt to use different diameters so that our work looks nicer, and so that we can have more control over how our output looks like. So that's what you're going to be doing. That's what you're going to be doing basically throughout today's webinar. And we are going to talk about so many things. We're going to talk about so many things. And this is just a brief overview of the content that you're going to be having. So I hope you're going to stay put. There's going to be a long session. And yeah, so this is what you're going to cover, and it's going to be a long session. And I hope you are going to stay put, or just listen to the end. All right. So with that said, I'd like to see if we are together. If you understand the topic, or if you understand what you're going to be doing today, please type a one. If you basically have an idea of what I have explained, if you've gotten a general flow, a general picture of what I have generally just said, please type a one. Please type a one. Okay. Super. So I can see we are together. I can see we are together. If I have left you behind, I'll try to go slowly so that you could catch up. So I'll go to my software. And as we go to this software, I'm going to be using a project shared by one of us. I think this work was done by, I don't think it was done by Ken Munga actually. He did a really, really good job, and I'm going to be using his work to create a template. So I'm just going to close it for now. I'm going to close it for now, and I'm going to reopen it so that okay. Allow me to re-download it, please. And okay, so this is what you're going to be doing. So I want us to create a project or a template that we can adopt, or that you can adopt in your upcoming works, all right, or in your future works. So this is my template over here, and I'm going to be making reference to it, and I'm going to be using Ken's work to create a template. So there are two main approaches to creating templates in Revit. When you go to File over here and you try to open a new project, you are going to be prompted to select either create a new project or create a project template. All right. So you could go directly to the software and create or make these settings without having a project to look at. You could do that, but I don't recommend doing that. I prefer, or I'd recommend, you create a template from a project that you've already worked on, so that you can see the changes in real time. So that if you make a change to a grid, you can understand what that change is, or what are the repercussions of making that change. And then once that particular change is sufficient for you, then you can have it in your template. And then creating a template is not a one-time thing. It is something that you're going to improve over time. So you could think of this as a base, something that you can use for now to make your life a bit easier. But as you continue to work on more projects, as you continue to understand the software more, then you can always improve on the templates that you're going to share with you. So this is just to explain to you. So the approach that you're going to adopt during this webinar is improving what we have on this work, okay? Improving on what we have, and then from there, we are going to create a template from it, right? So the first thing that I said, whenever you are working on a project, the first thing that I would want to have is basically a starting page, okay? And the starting page is like a distilled version of a BIM execution plan, especially for small teams, so that everyone can know where they are going or what they are working with. So that whenever you have the project, you don't have to call anyone to understand who was working on it, or what the deadlines were. You just basically have some information on that project. So that's the first thing that you're going to do. So to create a starting page, I'm going to go to this project over here, and then I'll go to views over here. All right. So to create a starting page, I'll go to view, and then I'll create a drafting view. So a drafting view, these are just views that you can draft and have them in your project. All right. So drafting views can be used for a lot of things. They can be used for a lot of things. You could use them for abbreviations. So if you have a template, you may want to show that if you're working on a project, you're going to have a few abbreviations. You're going to have notes on your you're going to have notes on your title blocks, and you may want to show such things. So if you have DOS on your drawing, then someone can look at the abbreviations and understand that DOS stands for determined on site. Okay, EL stands for existing level. So these are some of the things that you could have in your drafting views. All right, you could have a few general notes. You could have a few general notes. You could have your starting page, as I have one. You could also do some 2D drafting of your connections. So if you are doing some bit of timber connections or roof details, you could have your truss connections here, so that you don't always have to draft this. After you draft on your project, you just need to drag them to the paper space and use them. All right. And this is why we have a template, or this is why we are creating a template, just to make our work a bit easier to automate some of the workflows. Right. So I have shown you what the drafting views are. You can see I have a couple over here. So I'll show you how to create a drafting view. So to create a drafting view, I'm going to go to my project over here, and then I'm going to go to view. And then once I go to view, I'm going to left click on drafting view over here. And then once I have this, I'm just going to give it a name, and I'm going to call it my starting page. All right. Oh, sorry, is the class being recorded? It's been recorded. So I'm going to have my starting page, and then I'm going to set my scale as 1:20. And then I'm just going to click on OK, and I have a starting page over here. So at this point, it is just a name, and I need to add the information that I will have over here. All right. So once I come here, what I will do is I will add my text. So to add your text in Revit, you go to annotate, and then you can use your text to add your text over here. So adding text is pretty easy. You just need to have a general understanding of what you want to have in your starting page or on your starting page. And this is what I have for my personal one. So I'm not going to type out everything here. I'm just going to copy these and paste them in our starting page. All right. So to add a text, just to show you how you add it, you go to your starting page, the one you just created, you go to annotate, and then you have your text here. And then you could have the name of the company that is working here. So for now, I'll just use Roads Up. So I'll select a text size over here. And then as I select my text size over here, after I select it, I'll just place it and say this is say Roads Up starting page. All right. So that whoever is looking at this project, number one, can know who was working on it, and they can be able to build on it. All right. So this is basically how you just type it out. You could use this as an exemplar and build on it. So I'm going to have Roads Up name over here, and then under prepared by, because these are just text, I'm not going to do that manually. I'll just copy them and I'll paste them in my project over here. All right. So I'll just paste them over here and basically have them over here. So I'll rename this and call it Roads Up Projects starting page, so that whoever opens this work can be able to know who we are working with here. Then I'll delete this. My name is not important there. And then I'll have that. So I have my starting page, and then here I have my prepared by, so that whenever I am whenever you start working on a project, whoever prepared the model or whoever is preparing the model for the others can come here and enter their name. And then before they enter their name, it would also be important to have the name of the project over here. All right. This one doesn't have to end up on your sheets. It's just to add or to provide information to the other guys who you may be working with. So I'll have these, I'll change this to project name so that we can have the project name over here. And then I'll just copy these and have it there. All right. So that you could enter the project name over here. Right? So you have your landing page, then you have the information. So you could see the team leaders, you could see the manager's name, whoever is supervising the work, and then relevant deadlines. Okay, so that is what you'd have in your starting page. And because this is a starting page and you want to create a template out of it, you want that whenever you start a project, you want it to open up in this particular page. All right. So how do you get to set the software so that every time you open up your project or every time you open up your template, it opens up in this particular starting page? To do that, you go to manage. And manage is where you basically manage your project. So you're going to go to manage. And then once you go to manage, you're going to follow my cursor in this manage project over here. In this manage project manage project ribbon over here. Okay, if you can see where I'm hovering with my cursor, there is this starting view over here, right? So what the starting view does, it allows you to set a view that is going to be your default view once you open your project. So you're going to click on starting view, and then you're going to set the view. So select a starting view, which will be the default view, which Revit opens the model. So whenever you open a model that you've created using this template, it's going to be opened up in this starting page. So I'm going to click on this drop down, and then I'm going to scroll down and select my starting page. I'm just going to scroll down and select my starting page. Let me see where my drafting view is. Okay, this is my drafting view. So I'll just select it and I'll have my starting page as the default view. So once I click on OK, that has been set. Whenever I open a project, it is going to open up in this particular starting page. When you receive this particular template, you're going to come to this particular name and you're going to remove roads up. You're going to give it a name of your choice. So if it's a personal template, you could have your name as I have on mine. Okay, but if you are creating it for your own farm, you could come here and just rename it after your farm, so that whenever you share your project, someone can know who was working on that. Right? So that is step number one. So we now have a starting page. Now that we have a starting page, the next thing we need to think about is the working environment. Okay. The next thing we need to think about is the working environment. So in the working environment, the most important thing is the project browser over here. I'm going to be hovering with my cursor a lot. So after you've set out the starting page, the next thing you would want to have in your template clearly set out from the beginning is your project browser. If you've been to any of our trainings, we always advocate that always ensure your project browser is very ordered. You can see our friend here really did a good job and ensured that his project browser is ordered. So this one helps when it comes to managing your views and printing. If you have your views ordered, it becomes a bit easier to print them. But if you allow any type of disorganization over here, then it becomes a bit of a challenge. So when it comes to structural plans or ordering your project browser, there's basically one thing that you can do. Okay, there's basically one major thing that you can do, and is to order your views. So if you look at your views here, our structural plans, they may not be ordered in the way you may want, okay? So when it comes to order them, the thing that I'd recommend you do is you order them based on their associated level. You could have them ascending or descending. What I mean by that is this. What I mean by that is this. Let me open up my elevations. Okay, let me open up one elevation over here. So what I mean by that is this. When you're working with Revit, you're going to be defining elevations. And from these elevations, you are going to have your floors generated from them. So when you come to your structural plan, you would want them ordered based on their elevations. So when you have them ascended or ascending, you start from the bottommost floor going downwards, and then descending, you start from the top going downwards. And you could do that in Revit by ordering your project browser. So how do you get to do that? You're going to move your cursor to your project browser, and you're going to right click on views. And then once you right click on views, you're going to left click on project browser. And this is what allows you to set out or to order your project browser. So the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to order them by discipline because you are working on a structural template. So you're going to order them by discipline because you are working on a structural template. And then after you order them by discipline, you're going to click on edit over here. All right. And then after you order them by discipline, you're not going to filter anything over here. We are not going to filter anything over here. We are just going to click on group. And then in group, we are going to sort them. We are going to sort them by the associated level. The associated level is this particular. The associated level is this level that they have been assigned. All right. So you're going to scroll to grouping and sorting, and then you scroll down to where you have sort by. And then once you come here, or once you arrive here, move your cursor to the right. There's a drop down, click on it, and then have them associated by the associated level. All right. And if I click on OK at this particular point and apply, then I expand them again. Okay, I have to close. If I expand them again, you can see they are ordered by their associated level. So I went with ascending. So you can see I have my foundation plants over here, and then all the way to the roof. All right. So if you don't want to have them as ascending, you could just go back to views, right click, browser organization, edit the discipline, grouping and sorting. And then here where you have ascending, you could have them as descending. All right. And that is what we have over there. All right. That is what we have over there. Okay. So I'm just going to click on OK, apply, and OK. And with that, we have our views ordered. All right. So I want you to work with me here. Please type a one if we are together. Please type a one if we are together. If you are new to the software, this may be a bit, maybe a bit new to you, but don't worry. You're going to get accustomed to this quite slowly. All right. All right. So I can see we are together. So there's something else I want us to talk about. So we can also do a bit of organization or more organization when it comes to these particular plans. All right. So when it comes to these plans over here, if you've used the software, you know that we do not do any type of 2D drafting here. What we do is we usually clean up these particular views and print them. Right? So any view that is highlighted in blue, then it is a view that has already been transferred to the paper space. So any view that you can see highlighted in blue, you can see, I hope you can see where I'm moving with my cursor. I'm on the right side of my screen. There's this boxes highlighted in blue. Okay, there are these boxes highlighted in blue. All right, and any view that has been highlighted in blue has basically been transferred to the paper space. All right. So when it comes to cleaning these views, there are a few things that we do. Okay. So when it comes to cleaning these views, there are a few things that we do. So number one of the things that we do is we ensure our members are very visible. Okay. We ensure our members are very visible. So if you have columns, if you have walls, you would want to have them shaded so that if someone looks at your project, they can clearly see it. So I want you to look at what I have in my first floor. This is what Ken has cleaned up, and it is pretty clean. And then I want you to look at a floor that was not painted. You can see how it looks like. All right, you can see what we have over here. All right, so if you look at this, number one, the grids have not been ordered in any way. All your views or your sections are visible, which is an ideal. And then your columns are not shaded, your walls are not shaded, and rebar is visible. So it ends up looking a bit dirty. All right. So what I want us to do at this particular point is I want us to create a category for our plans. Okay. I want us to create a category for our plans so that we can have views for documentation and views for working. All right. So what I want us to do is we are going to create views, okay, floor plans for working and floor plans for documentation. All right. So when we generate those floor plans, they will automatically always have your columns shaded. They will always automatically have your have your uh have your views hidden, and any other elements that you do not deem necessary in this particular view. All right. So this is where I want us to work really closely, because there are a few things that you are going to be doing. There are a few things that you're going to be doing over here. All right. There are a few things that are going to be doing over here, and I want you to work with me really closely. So when we are working with these particular views, or when we want to clean up a particular view for printing, there are a few things we do. The first thing we do is we go to the visibility graphics, and number one, alter or hide what we do not need, or alter the appearance of the elements that we want to view. All right. So what we have over here, if I go to my first floor, which has already been printed over here, all right, you can see Ken has cleaned up his view. There are things that he has hidden from being viewed. Okay. If I could show this, now, where do I hide this? Okay, so if I could show the things that he has hidden, you can see so many things have been hidden. All right. So what I want us to do is automate this hiding. I don't want you to be hiding everything whenever you are working or every time that you are working with the software. So I want us to have some bit of automation with that, with what is hidden. All right. So this is where I want you to work with me closely. This is where I want you to work with me closely. So I'm going to go to a view. I will go to a view that has not been cleaned up, and then we are going to clean it up basically. All right. So, or I could unhide elements over here. I could unhide elements over here. So let me unhide a few elements over here. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Just focus on the hiding parts so that we can okay. So when you're working with the software, when you're done working, this is ideally what it would look like, right? You have so many views that are going to appear on your PDF. So if you are to print this as it is, you would end up with, let me see if I can see something close to that. Seems like most of you did a good job. So you would end up with a view that is not very clean. All right. You would end up with a view that is not very clean, or sections appearing on your plans. Right? So that is what I want us to avoid. Okay, so what you are going to do is we are going to go to the visibility graphics and change or hide what we don't want to see, right? So this is what we do. Basically, the visibility graphics, they are a group of settings that affect, number one, whether an element is visible. Okay, that's the first thing they do. They determine whether a particular element is visible in a given view. And then number two, they affect how that particular element is viewed. Okay, they affect whether an object is visible and how it is viewed. So we are going to set this particular view, and then you're going to create a view template from it. So the first thing that we do is we go to visibility graphics to hide what we want to see. So to hide the elements or to go to visibility graphics, we are going to type VG and we are going to go to visibility graphics over here. All right. So once we go to visibility graphics, we are going to turn off the things we don't want to see in our beam and column layouts. All right. There are things we don't want to see in our beam and column layouts. So number one, I don't want to see rebars in my beam and column layouts, and I don't want to hide them manually. So what I do is I go to visibility graphics, and then I will scroll down and look for my structural rebar. All right. I will scroll down and look for my structural rebar, and then I will uncheck it. I will uncheck it, click on apply. And then once I click on apply, you're going to notice my structural rebar has been hidden. All right. Then the other thing that I don't want to see are these particular sections, right? So to hide these particular sections, you're going to go to annotation categories, and then you're going to scroll down and look for sections. All right. So you're going to scroll down and look for sections, and then you're going to uncheck sections. And then once I click on apply, all my sections are going to be hidden. So instead of you hiding them one by one, you're going to use so much energy doing that. So instead of you doing that, just go to the visibility graphics and hide them. So for sections, you hide them in the annotation categories. For the rebar, you hide them in the model categories. All right. And then the other thing you may want to hide or ensure is hidden in these particular views are the imported categories. You always want to ensure you want this view to be very clean. You don't want to see your imported IFC files. You don't want to see your imported CAD files. All right. So you want to hide them from the word go. So I'm going to uncheck these. Okay, I'm going to uncheck this also, uncheck the imported categories over here, and then just click on apply so that they will never be visible in these particular views. All right, so I have that. Okay. Then I'm going to go to my model categories, and you're going to make a few changes over here. All right. So what you're going to be making changes to is the projection surface and the cut patterns for certain elements. So what I want to do is ensure that the elements that I want to be very conspicuous are conspicuous, right? So I want my shear walls to be conspicuous. So to do that, I'll scroll down, I'll go to model categories, and then I'll scroll down and look for my walls. And then once I come to my walls, I'll just move slightly to the right, and I'll have projection surface. I left click on this particular rectangle, and in the foreground pattern, I'm going to change it to solid fill, and then change the color gray. All right, and then I'll click on OK. Then I'll go to cut patterns, and over here, I'll just click on this particular icon over here and do the same. Change it to solid fill, and in the color, change it to gray. All right, then click on OK. If I click on apply at this particular point, you're going to see my walls becomes shaded. All right, and it's the same thing that you need to do for your columns so that they become shaded. So for your columns, you could go to structural columns. Okay, so Ken had already done this. You go to structural columns, and then where you have pattern, you change it to you change the pattern to solid, and then you assign it a color of your choice. You could go with any color. I recommend working with gray, but you could go with any color. Gray looks a bit more professional. So whenever you can, just go with gray, change it in this particular pattern, projection surface, and in that pattern. All right. So change it in that and then click on apply and okay. And then once you have that, you are going to have this particular type of view. All right. So I hope you are together. Please type a one if you understood that. Type a one if you understood that. Super. So now that we are together, I want us to proceed and do the other. I want us to proceed and do the other things. Okay. So there are things that you should automate. When you're working with Revit, there are things that you should automate. So I'm going to delete these particular tags over here. I'm going to delete all these tags that we have over here. I'll basically just delete them in such a manner. And I want us to talk about a few things. So when you're working with templates, we said you want to, number one, standardize, you want to standardize things, right? And in standardization, you're going to be standardizing everything. Whether it's the color of the dimension lines, whether it's the text that is going to be used in the dimension lines, you need to standardize that. So what most companies will do is they will have a given part, they will have a particular text style that they want on their objects. All right. So if you want to create a text, a dimension line for your say for your dimensions, you just go to dimensions where you have your dimensions. Okay, you just click on the aligned one, and then you're going to create a new dimension style. So I like to have the arrow field 2.5 millimeter Arial as my base, and then I'll click on edit type. I'll duplicate and then I'll give it a name. So for this one, I could call it say road sub 2.5 millimeter field Arial or Times New Roman, whatever text style you want. I was trying Times New Roman. Okay, so you could just work with whatever text you want, or you could just have it just as roads up 2.5 millimeter field. And then once you have such a text style, you just scroll down and you can change the text font. If you want to change it to Arial, you can change it to from Arial to whatever text font that you want. So if you're working with a firm, you want to ensure that all your drawings are standard. All right. So this is something that most firms will do. They will always ensure their drawings are standard. So if it's a textile for annotations, they are going to be uniform. If it's a textile for, say, for anything else, they're going to be uniform. So this is something that they're going to do. So if you want to do that, that is how you do it. So you name it after your firm or whoever templates it is, you name it after that, and then you have them there. And then you can just click on OK and have them there so that whenever someone is working on this project or using your template, you can tell them that for our project we use our dimension style and it is in the template, so they don't have to reinvent the wheel or they don't have to spend time creating it. All right. So that's one of the standardizations that they have to do. Then the other standardization they have to do is the labels. All right. So I deleted the labels that we had over here so that I can show you something new. Probably some of you have used it. So let me run a poll. If you added the beam annotations manually, please type a 2. If you added the beam annotations and the column annotations manually, please type a 2. Please type a 2 if you added them manually. Type a 2 if you added them manually. Okay. So if you added them manually, then we have something for you. You don't have to do them manually. Okay. You don't need to do them manually. You could save a lot of time. You could save a lot of time automating that. All right. So this is what you do to place your tags. This is what you do. You go to annotate, and then you go to beam annotations. All right. Then once you go to beam annotations, you are going to have this pop-up. Okay. So to add these annotations over here, you're going to go to beam annotations, and then you're going to annotate them. You're going to annotate all the beams in current view. You could annotate selected beams, but we want to do it for all beams. All right, that is what we want to do. Okay, and then from there, we are going to scroll to where we want our annotation placed. So you could do it at the start of the beam, either at the top or at the bottom of it, at the middle point, so at the middle or at the bottom of it, or at the end of the beam or at the bottom part of the end. And then here is where you select, you control the type of tag used. Okay, so I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to talk about something else. So you're going to, I don't like to have two of them. I don't want to have my spot elevation. It would be important if you're working with a steel structure because they are they are very sensitive. But for concrete structures, you don't need to have the spot elevation. So for the bottom tag over here, just click on the three dots. I have none, and then click on OK, and it's going to be changed. All right, and then for this one, click on the three dots, and then have the structural framing tag. And then by default, you should have two types of tags. You could have the boxed, the standard, and the load framing tag. So I'll just leave it as standard and click on OK. And then I'll click on OK. And with that, we have our tags placed, right? So we have our tags placed. Okay, so this is the automated way of doing this. But at this particular point, we are not just interested in placing the tags. We are interested in creating something structured that we could always reuse for our future projects, right? And what we want to do here is standardize these texts. You can see how they look. They are not very, they are not very clean. You could always increase the scale, and they will look a bit better. But the reality is, you're not always going to have the liberty to increase the scale as you wish or play with the scale as you want. Sometimes you may be forced to stick to a lesser or a smaller scale, and that will impact how your tags will look. So what we do at this particular point is we create families for this annotation. Okay, so we are going to create a family for this particular tag. It is pretty easy. I know the family creation environment looks a bit new, but it is something really, really easy to do. So what we are going to do is we are going to go to File, and we are going to create a family for this particular tag. All right. So what you do is you just go to File, and then you're going to click on, you're going to place your cursor on New, then click on Family. And then once you go to Family, you're going to click on drop down. You always go back to Family Templates to select the English folder. We go with English because we exist in a metric environment. I'll go to English, and then I'll go to annotations. Just to repeat that, I want to create a family for my tags, for my beam tags. So I'll go to File, and then I'll go to New. I'll place my cursor, I'll go to File, place my cursor on New, click on Family, scroll back to Family Templates, open up English, left click, press on Annotations, and then we can create new annotation templates or families. So I'm going to go with a metric generic tag. I'm going to go with a metric generic tag, and I'll click on Open to create a beam tag. All right, you're going to have a note over here. It just tells you to, number one, to set the properties, the family category, tell you this is the insertion point, and then tell you to delete this note before using. You have to delete this so that it doesn't appear in your project. So I will delete that, and then we are going to place our tag. So this is how you create a tag. It is pretty simple. Once you come here, you're going to start at the family category and parameters. And this just tells the software which family is going to be tagged using this tag over here. So you just click over here. And at this particular point, we are interested in creating a tag for our structural framing or our beams. So you just scroll down and you select structural framing. You scroll down and you select structural framing, and then you always ensure rotate with component is on. The reason we check rotate with component is this. Some beams are running in this direction while others are running horizontally. So you want your tag to follow the direction of your beam. And then once you select structural framing and then check rotate with component, all you have to do is click on OK. And then after that, you're just going to you're going to go to create and you're going to add the label. So you just go to create and then you click on label. You go to create, then you left click on label. And then at this particular point, you just need to click on one of the reference lines. And then you have the label parameters over here. So on the left, you have the parameters that you can include to your tag. And then to your right, you have the parameters in your tag. So you don't have any at this particular point. So I'll just scroll down. And this being an RC member, we are just interested in the type name. So just look for the type name, left click on it, and then push it to the right using this green arrow. Click on apply and okay. And you have your tag added over here. Okay. So you have your type name, and then I can just place it over there at the intersection. And then at this particular point, I'm going to save it, and then you're going to play around with it. Okay. I'm going to save it, and then you're going to play around with it. So I'm going to go to File, Save as a family. And then I'm going to save it in a folder. For now, let me make a new folder. I'll save a new folder. Let me call it webinar families. You could just, let me call it webinar families just for the purposes of this training. But I recommend you have a folder for all your families so that you could always reload them. So for example, I have a full folder for my own families. So I'd recommend you do that. So I'll save this one in folder families. And then in the name, I'll call it, say, roads up beam tag. Okay. And then I'll call it, I click on save. And then I load into project. I won't close for now. I'll just load it to the project and click on OK. All right. So I have loaded it here. So I want you to see this. I'll select this and select all instances in view and just delete the tags that we added. All right. So I want to add the tag that we just created. So I go to beam annotations, click on these three dots, and then this time we should have our roads up beam tag. So I left click on it and then click on OK and OK. And we have our tag created. So you can see it's a bit nicer than what was there initially. It's a bit nicer than what was there initially. And the beauty of this is you could play around with it and basically have something that you can work with. All right. So this is the beauty of using this. I think number one, it's easier. And then number two, you just have more control over it per se. So you can just move one here. If you want to make them a bit ordered, you could move one there. All right. So because we are creating a template, we're just not interested in adding them. So I've shown you how to create a basic one, just a basic one, but you could do more. All right. So we said number one, we want to create more. So this is the 3mm tag. So you could create multiple families with different text sizes so that you can change them. You can change them whenever you need. So I can select this one, then go to edit type, duplicate, and then have this as 2.5mm. Okay, and then click on OK. And then for matters standardization, please stick to one text font. If you choose to have Times New Roman for your farm, just use it. If you choose to have Times New Roman Say if you choose to have Arial, just use it. Stick to one text font. So I will go with Times New Roman, and then I'll have 2.5 here. I'll click on apply, and okay, and that has been added as 0.5. Then I'll save this as a new family. So save as family. And then now in the roads up beam tag family, I'll have this as 2.5 millimeter roads up tag, beam tag. All right. So that whenever I want to use it, I load it to the project. Okay. So I'll create another one quickly. So this one I'll call it, I'll just edit type, duplicate, and have this as 2.0 millimeter tag. All right. 2.0 millimeter. Apply. Okay. File, save as family. And then I'll call this 2.0 millimeter tag. So I'll just work with those two for now. Load into projects. And then now you can see what we have. So I'll delete these tags once more. I'll delete these tags once more so that you can see how having this in your template would make your work easier. So whenever you want to tag your beams, all you have to do is go to annotate, and then you go to beam annotations. And then here you can click on the three dots. And then once you come to selecting this tag, you have multiple sizes. You could have as many sizes as you want, so that based on the scale that you have been that is suitable for that particular project, you can find a suitable tag. So if I place 2.5 millimeter now, I think it would look a bit better than what we had with the others. And then once you have this, the areas that are just having a bit of flashing, it is just easier to move them manually than creating or adding, tags for each beam manually. Okay, I believe this is a bit faster. I think this would be a bit faster. I think this will just make you just a few minutes faster than having to add them manually. Right, and that's how you can create a couple of tags and have them in your families or in your template, just to be a bit faster. Right? And then the beauty of these tags is that they are dynamic. So if you detail a beam and you want to change its tag, you just select your beam, you go to edit type. Say if I was to change this to be 200 by 500, click on OK. My tag changes. All right. So you don't have to change it anywhere else. It just makes your work a bit more dynamic. All right, I think I've talked for a bit long. Please type a 1 if you think that would make you a bit faster. Type a 1 if you'd want to incorporate that in your workflows. Okay, you can see us together. Super. Super. So again, that's how you can create folders, or that's how you can create tags for your beams. And it does not stop there. You could do the same. You could do the same for your columns as well. So you could also create a tag for your columns. So to create these tags, it's the same process. It is typically the same process. To create a tag for your columns, you go to File, and then place your cursor on New, and then Family. All right. And then once you go to Family, again, you scroll to Family Templates, and then left click twice on English, Annotations. And then here, we are also going to go with the metric generic tag. It is not going to change. It is never going to change. When you are creating a tag, it is always going to be the metric generic tag. So you just click on the metric generic tag, and then you click on Open. And then once you come here, you have the same note. So you just delete it. And then we start creating a tag. We say the first step is coming to family category and parameters and selecting the category you want to create a tag for. So you come here. I hope you can see where my cursor is. Here in the properties panel over here, we have the family category on the top right. And then here, you're going to scroll down and select the family you want to create a tag for. So we are creating a tag for our structural columns. So you scroll down and look for structural column tags. And then always check rotate with column. Left click on structural column tag. Then check this and click on OK. And then once you do that, you just go to create the same process. Label, you click on one of the reference lines, and then you scroll down and select the type name. For concrete columns, you only need the type names. But if you're working on structural steel, you could go forward, or you could go ahead and add the web fillet, the web height, the web thickness, all the necessary details. But for concrete columns, you're only interested in the type name. So you just add it there, and then you click on apply and okay. All right. And now that you understand this, I'll just place it slightly to the right. Okay. So for this one, I'll do something different. I'll just come to create, and then I'll draw a line, say pick lines here, and then I'll offset it slightly, say by 5 mm to the right, and place it somewhere there. Okay. Let me have it there. Okay. So you could just have it there and then delete this particular line. All right. Then select this particular label, go to edit type, duplicate, and say, let's use this as 2.5 millimeter. All right. And then I'll change the text size to 2.5. And because I'm sticking to Times New Roman, I'm going to change this to Times New Roman. Okay, this is one of the values of creating a template. You want to standardize it. So if you select a style, a text style, stick to it. So you click on apply and okay, and you have your text there. Then you're going to file and save as a family. And then here, I'm going to save it as 2.5 row sub column tag. So that whoever comes to use your work or whoever is going to be using your company's template, they can always use it, or you can always direct them to that particular template. And then I'm going to load it into my project, and we have it there. So all that is remaining is now to tag my columns. So to tag your columns, you're going to follow the same thing. So to tag your columns, this is what you do. You go to tag all, you go to annotations, then you click on tag all. Then once you come to tag all, you're not going to check everything. You're just going to scroll down and select your structural columns. All right. And then in the drop down over here, you're going to select the tag that you need. So what I'm envisioning is you're going to have multiple sizes. You could have a 2 millimeter tag, a 2.5 millimeter tag. So I'm going to have a 2.5 for now. And then I'll always ensure my tag is horizontal. And then I can have the leader. 6 millimeters is usually sufficient. So I'll just click on apply and okay. And with that, you could see that your tag has been, or that your columns have been tagged. Okay, you could always see that your columns have been tagged. All right, so if you are not comfortable with what has been done or how they have been placed, you could go back to your column tag. This is my column tag, and then you could move it around. So if you want it there, say just move it around, and then load it into projects, click on OK, overwrite existing parameter, and you can see where it has been placed. Okay, so you could always use this to place your tags. This could make you a bit faster, especially after you've created your tag really well. Okay, so just move around with it, ensure your tag has been placed correctly, load it into the project. Once you have something that works, then you can save it. So I think that works much better. Where you have a collision, you just move it around, but it will make you faster than having to create the tags manually every time. So once you get to set this correctly, then you can have an easier time working with your columns. All right. So let me see if we are still together at this particular point. Please type a 1 if we are together. Type a 1 if we are together. Okay, so let me just add all once again, structural columns, as I wait for you to respond. Okay, so you could have that. And then if you don't want to use that text size, always remember to save as. But in the interest of time, just allow me to use a different one, a different text size for now. Just place it randomly. And then you can, so that you can see what you have here. All right, so you could always use these two to make your work a bit easier. Yes, Timothy, you could have your text size, your column tags as C1 and C2 only. Remember, this text has been added, has been named, or it's following the type name. Okay, it is following the type name. So if you want to have your columns as C1, C2, you just select your columns, and then when you go to edit type, say for this column, just rename it and call it, say, column 2. If I do that, you'll see my column becomes column 2, and then you could adjust your tag and have it as column 2. All right. So this is basically just to show you how to do it. So just select the columns that you want to have a particular name, edit type. If you don't want to duplicate, just rename, and then have column 1, and then you're good to go. All right. Okay, so I hope you are good up to there. So that is just okay. So we are still on creating. We are still on creating templates. So at this particular point, I want you to see what we've done. We've created a family for our annotations, our beams, and our columns, right? And we've also cleaned up our view, all right? So the only thing that we've not done to this particular view, to this particular view is cleaned up these grid heads. Okay, the only thing that we are yet to do is clean up these grid heads. And as you have seen, everything in Revit is basically a family. So we need to find a way of adjusting the diameter of this particular grid head. All right. So we are going to make changes to this grid head. So this is what you do. You can select one grid head. Okay, just select one. Okay, I'll select one grid head over here, and then I'll go to edit type. And then once I come to edit type, you can see under graphics, the symbol, we have the name mgrid head circle. All right, this is the name of the family we need to edit. So how do we get to edit this family? It's pretty simple. Just copy this name, highlight this and copy it. Highlight it and press Ctrl C, highlight it and press Ctrl C, and then click on OK. So you're going to look for that particular family, duplicate it, and then make changes to it. All right. So this is what you do. To make changes to that particular family, you just go to your project browser. After you've copied it, you paste it here. All right. Once you paste it there, your project browser is going to provide that family to you. Again, we said the project browser is the basic organization of your project. So anything that is in your project, you could access it through this particular point. So you just need to type the name and access it. So this is our grid head. Right click here and edit. And then you're going to go to the family over here. So you can see what we have over here. We have the diameter. Okay, the diameter is 6.5 millimeters, and we have the the symbol. All right. So before I make changes to this, I can come to File, Save as a family, so that it creates a duplicate, and I can call it say roads up grid head. I can have the circle over here, and then I can have the diameter over here. So I'll use 4.5 mm or 5 mm. I know 4.5 millimeters is just okay. I'll use a radius of 4.5 millimeters, and I'll click on save. So after I save it as 4.5, all I have to do is click on this particular circle and change the radius to 4.5 millimeters, and that is the radius. If you wish, you could change it further to even 4, and you'll be good. All right. So you could change it as much as you need. You could go even to 3.5 if you want very small ones, but I think 4 will just be sufficient. Okay. And if you want to reduce the text, the size of this particular text size, which I recommend, if you change the radius, just select this particular label, go to edit label, duplicate as usual. Let's have 3.5 millimeters. You could change the text size to Times New Roman, the size to 3.5. And then if you don't want the color as black, if you want a different color, you could change the color of the symbol as well. Click on apply and OK. And then you could load into your project, then select a grid, go to edit type, and then where you have the symbol, select the roads up one, click on apply and OK. So with that, you can see you have cleaner sections, or you have cleaner grids without having to change the scale. Initially, to reduce the diameter of the scale, you had to play around the diameter of the grid head. You'd have to change the scale, but there are limitations to change the scale because this layout has to fit on a piece of paper. So if you keep increasing the scale, say 1:50, 1:25, it may not fit. So you need to know how to change the diameters of these particular elements and their sizes so that you could always have more control. All right, and with that, you could have a cleaner plan. All right, so let me see if we are together there. Okay, Caleb, I may not have time to repeat that, please. I'm going to allow you to watch the recording because of how fast time is moving and how much we have to cover. So please type a 1 if you are together. Type a 1. I don't want to be alone. Okay, super. I can see we are together. So that is how you create a gradient. Remember, everything that we are doing at this particular point is to basically create the elements that we want in our template. So that is what we want to have in our template. So now that we have cleaned up now that you know how to create to change the diameter of the grid heads, then the other thing that you need to do is now save this view as a view template. All right. So that whenever you open up a structural plan, the ones you intend to print, they will always come with this. They'll always come this cleaned. And the only thing that you need to do is add the annotations. But it will be adding the annotations will be easy because you have the annotations inside your template, right? So you're going to create a template out of this. So to create a template out of this, please follow my cursor. To create a template out of this view, you're going to go to your structural plans. This is first floor. So you go to structural plan and you scroll to where you have your first floor. Right click on the first floor, the view that you have cleaned. Right click on the view that you have cleaned. And then you're going to create a view template from view. You're going to right click on the view that you've cleaned and then create a view template from view. And then we can call this template our beam and column layouts. And then click on OK. And then this is going to be the template for our beam and column layouts. All right. So all the hatching that we did for the columns, all the hatching that we did for our walls is going to be default. So that is what we have done. That is step one. Then step two, I want another category for my documentation plans. I don't want to have my documentation plans over here. I want this to be my working plans, and then the others will be my documentation plans. All right. So this is what we do. We are going to go to our views. We are going to go to our view over here, and then we are going to go to plan views. All right. So you're going to go to view, then plan views, and then structural plan. And then once we come here, we are going to click on edit type and duplicate this. Okay. So instead of where you went to generate these floor plans, you could create another section for it. So just go to floor plans, structural plan, and then click on edit type, duplicate, and call it documentation plans. All right. And then once you come here, you're going to scroll to where you have the view template applied to view, and then left click on it. And then once you left click on it, select the beam and column layouts that you had, click on apply and okay. And then new views are dependent on the view template. So you have to check these so that that view template is applied to the new views. Click on apply and okay. And then this is what I want you to do. So if I select my ground floor, this particular view, if I select it and click on OK, once it appears, you're going to see that I have a structural plan for my ground floor. If I open it, you're going to notice that once I open it, you're going to notice that I have my columns already cleaned up, and all I need to do at this particular point is annotate it. So this will just save you time because now you don't have to keep going view by view. You know, it means that you don't have to keep going view by view. You don't have to go view by view, changing these annotations, and it's that easy to do. Right? You can see how that easy is. If I want to now go and generate, say, even the third floor of the fourth floor, if you have those many views that you want to document. So just go to your fourth floor, say documentation plans, third, fourth, whatever you need, and then they already have that hatching. You don't have to keep, say, bothered about that. And then you could just go to your annotate, beam annotations, you could start with that, use your tag, and then click on OK. And then they are tagged. So it becomes easy. You don't have to keep doing things manually. You just need to do a few changes here and there, and you're good to go. Right? And it even comes with a scale. It even comes with a scale that you had set. All right. So that's one way of automating your workflows. And then these are my documentation plans. So what I'm going to print, everything that I need printed is going to be here. And then these ones are going to be my working drawings. All right. So if these are going to be my working drawings, and then these ones are going to be my structural plans. All right. So that is what we have with regards to the view templates. So the other thing that we need to set out is the section view templates. So we said this, we are going to be creating view templates, and the view templates that are going to be creating, we are going to have a view template for our columns. Okay, let me open up a column section over here. So you can see my column section over here, right? You can see my column section over here. Okay, you can see my column section over here. So I want to create a view template such that any type of view, any type of section that I cut is going to come with this particular, is going to come up with a given section. All right, it's the same thing that we did earlier on, but just we're going to apply it to the columns. All right. So to create a view template, we just need to clean this up. So what we do is we go to visibility graphics. All right. And then once we go to visibility graphics, here is where we change how we want our elements seen. Okay. So I'll scroll. I'll just come here and scroll. And at this particular point, for my structural columns, I don't want them to appear with any shading. Personally, I prefer them without any shading. So I'll scroll down and select my structural columns. Then I'll go to patterns. These are my structural columns. Left click on patterns and override. Uncheck visible and uncheck visible over there and click on OK. Go to cut patterns as well. Just uncheck these and OK. If you click on apply, they disappear. All right. In this particular view, you may want your structural framing probably be shaded if you want that. So if you want your framing to be shaded, you could come and change the cut pattern to probably shaded, have it as shaded, click on OK, okay, and apply, and your beams will be shaded. All right. For your slabs as well. So for your slabs, you have this particular slab over here. You have this particular slab over here, and you may want it shaded. I don't know why this didn't appear shaded. Okay, let me go back. Visibility graphics. I have my structural framing. Oh, my structural columns. Change this to uncheck this so that the shading disappears. And then hide this one as well. Then my structural framing, where's my structural framing? I have this, change this to shaded. And also change it here to shaded. Then click on apply. Okay, and you can see now that this particular element has been shaded. All my beams are shaded, and it is easy to identify them from this particular view. All right. You could do the same thing for the slabs. But for the slabs, I recommend you do this. For the slabs, I recommend you do this. So for the slabs, I recommend you do this. Select one of your slabs and go to edit type. Okay. And then once you go to edit type, the reason I'm saying you do this is because if I change all my floors to be shaded, even my ground floor here will be totally shaded. And I don't want this floor shaded. I want it to maintain its layers. All right. So what I will do is I'll change the pattern for these slabs that have been for these other slabs and leave this one alone. Okay. So I'll select one slab over here, go to edit type, click on edit, and then in the material, I'll just click on these three dots. All right. So we have a material for our slab over here, I think 150 millimeters. This is just okay. This is what I will use. I will change the cut pattern from this to shaded, and I will have it as solid fill. Okay. And I'll click on OK. Then I'll click on OK over here. Apply and OK. And with that, now you have a template for your files. So you can see that all your sections have this particular template. All right. And then after you've set out this and it has been cleaned, after you've set this out and it has been this clean, if this is what you want, then you can save it as a view template. So saving it as a view template is pretty simple. You just right click over here, and then you go to create view template from view. All right, right click here, go to create view template from view, and then you can call this column sections view template. and you have that. Then just click on OK and you have that. All right. So you can see, let's see what this does. If I go to another section, and I go to the identity data, please follow my cursor. So we've already created a view template and we want to apply those changes to this particular template over here. So to do that, you just go to view template over here, click on none, and then you change it to the column section view template that you just created. Click on apply and OK. And with that, your columns will have, your sections will have that type of shading. So you could use it for any, you could use it for any, section, and you could have them cleaned up. At least with this, it's a bit easier for you to identify your different sections and make them a bit tidier. So the next question would be, now that we have created a view template, how do we apply it to new sections? How do we ensure that any section that we create comes with this view template? It is pretty simple. What you do is you try to create a new template, you try to create a new section. Okay. So I'll just come here. Let me try and create a new template or a new section. And then what you do is you just come here, okay? Your TOF where you want to create your template, your section. You go to view and then section. Say you want to detail it afresh, right? So you go to section and then you click on this drop down. You select your column sections, the one you had created. But before you add it, you're going to click on, edit type, and then you're going to scroll down and select view template from applied view template. Okay, identity data, you have view template. Click on this section over here and select the column section view template. Click on apply and okay. All right. And then always ensure this is checked. Ensure that is checked and click on apply and okay. And now if you came to a column, say if I come to this column over here and just create a view over here, right click and go to view, you're going to realize that that particular template has those details added by default. So all you have to do is select the elements that you don't want to see, select say all instances visible in view and just hide them in view by elements. So it makes it a bit simpler to work with the software. So these are the things that you're going to be having in our template. You have such details set out for your sections, for your detail views, so that when you start working on it, it is simple to proceed. All right. So let me see if we are still together. Please type a 1 if you want me to continue. Please type a 1 if you want us to continue. Type a 2 if you are tired. Super. I can see you are together. So I'll just proceed and do another quick one for the beams. Now that you understand what view templates are, so I'll just open up one of the beam sections that we have over here. So I'll go to beam sections over here, and then I'll open up one, right? And this is what we have. All right. So once we come to view to beam sections over here, what do I want to see? I don't want to see this hatching for my beams. All right. So what I will do is I'll just type a visibility graphics. Sorry. I'll just type visibility graphics. And then I'll scroll to where I have my structural framing. And in my structural framing, where is it? Here it is. In my structural framing, I'll change the patterns to I'll change them to no visible. Okay, I'll make them invisible. And also in the cut, I'll uncheck this. Click on OK, apply, and OK. If you want to have your columns shaded in this particular view, you just go to Visibility Graphics, and then you go to Structural Columns. In the patterns, you could have these ones as shaded in the beam section, so that they are a bit, or don't have them shaded. That's entirely up to you. I'll just show you what you can have over here, and then the rest is up to you. So depending on what you think is good enough. If you don't want this shaded, I don't want them shaded. If you don't want them shaded, you could uncheck them, leave them as no visible, and check these view boxes, and then have such a section. And then once you have such a section, you just save it as a view template. You save it as a view template. You go to create view template from view, and then you can call this beam sections, view templates. All right, and then click on OK. So if I go to another section, all I have to do is go to my properties, and then under identity data, the first row is view template. Click on the none and change it to the beam section view template. Click on apply and OK, and you have that. All right, so there's a thing that I did not do over here. So you can see that once I do this, there are things that appear that I may not want to have. So what you do is you can hide these elements. So if you don't want to have this as visible, instead of you having to go view template by view by view changing them, just go to where you have your view template over here. Go to beam sections view template, and then in the visibility graphics model, click on edit. You go to annotation category. It's basically the same VG, and then you scroll down to where you have your sections. Scroll down to where you have your sections. Let's see where you have your sections, and then okay, annotations. I should have sections somewhere here. Okay, here are my sections. So I could just uncheck them, click on apply and OK. Apply and OK, and they'll be viewed. So any view that I apply that particular view template, it is going to be hidden. It is going to be hidden. And you can see they come up with the same style, so that you ensure you have a bit of consistency throughout your project. So that is one of the things that you could do. And then you could do the same thing for your detail views. So if you want to save something as a detail view, say this one. I think this one is pretty nice. All I have to do is probably turn off this hatching. So you just go to visibility graphics, and then you go to where you have your structural framing, and uncheck these, click on OK. Patterns, uncheck these, click on OK, apply and OK. And you have that. All right, you have that. So once you have these, then you can save it as a view template. So just go to create view from template, and you can have this as your beam cross sections. View template. Okay, and you have that, and then just click on OK. And then to ensure it applies to all others, new cross sections, you just go to view section where you had created your beam, your beam detail view, left click on it and edit type. And then go to identity data, click on this icon and select your beam cross sections view template. Click on apply and OK, and then check this box, so that whenever you are starting a new project, when you go to cut a beam section, if I was to cut a beam section over here now, if I was to cut a beam section for this of here now, if I was to cut a section over here, let me see. If I was to cut a beam section over here, if I was to cut a beam section over here, it comes with the input style. So you just need to do a bit of hiding and you're good to go. So those are some of the things that you can use to automate some of the workflows that you probably find tedious with Revit. All right. So at this point, I think you now understand how to work with view templates. You know how to create families. So what else is remaining? What else is remaining? Let me look at my presentation so that I don't leave out anything. So we've organized our browser. We have standardized our levels. We are ready to do grids, text styles we have, dimension styles we have. So we just have the title blocks and the schedules. All right. So type a one, please type a one if you're together, or type something that you'd want to include in your template that I have not mentioned. Type something that you've probably struggled with and you would want me to mention. There's something I had almost forgotten, but I've remembered. I almost forgot something, but I've remembered. Okay, so there's this thing that we had talked about, the color of our riba. Okay, we had talked about the color of our riba and also how they look like. So some may look like this thick. You can see how thick some of them look. So we don't want to have this in our drawing. Okay, you want your drawings to be very clear to probably look at. You don't want your riba to be very, very thick. Okay, you want them to be quite clear to look at. All right. So to change how your riba appears, to change the color of your riba, you're going to go to manage. Okay. To change how your riba looks like, you're going to go to manage. Okay. And where we are going to go, you can basically change the appearance of any object throughout the entire project. Okay. So this is the difference between the visibility graphics and the object styles. So visibility graphics is per view, and then from each view, you create a view template. But for the object styles, for select items, you can change how they appear throughout the entire project. So here, we are going to go to object styles. And then once you go to object styles, you're going to scroll down and look for structural riba. All right, you're going to look for structural riba. And then once you get to structural riba, we are going to come to this particular, we are going to expand structural riba, and you can see how they look like. So this projection, what you can see as this number 1, 2, 3, it refers to the line width. So the larger the number, the thicker your line will look on the piece of paper. All right. And also these colors that you can see here, they are the colors that you can see on the PDF sheet. All right. So majorly to make our work look better, we always work with black so that our colors can look better. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select, I'll start with the projection. I'll left click on number 6, this option over here, and then click all the way to number 32, diameter number 32. Expect that one to be, the largest you'll work with, and change it to 1. All right, I'll have it as 1. All right, and then I'll go to my color over here, and then I want all of them to be black. Okay, I want all of them to be black. So I'll change here, press shift. I'll click on the first one, just click here and change it to black. Click on apply and okay. And you can see what you have. Now all your colors will be black. You won't have the funny colors again. okay, you'll no longer have the funny colors. And what that will do is it will make your project look a bit more professional. Okay, it will just make your project look a bit more professional without you having to fight with the software every time you start a project. Okay, so you just save this as a template, and then every time you start a project, it should have at least the basics set correctly. At least the basics set correctly so that you don't fight a lot with it. So that's the thing that I wanted us to talk about. So at this point, we have organized our starting page. Then we have organized our view templates. We have organized our project browser. We have changed the color of our rebar. We have shown how to work with various families. That is the grid heads, and the grid heads basically majorly, and the annotation symbols. Not the annotation symbols, the annotation families for the beams and for the columns. So I think those are the main elements you need to work with. But we are not going to stop there. There's something else I had mentioned. So when working with this software, there are things that you may want. Okay, there are things that you may. I don't know. If you guys noticed this. I don't know if you guys noticed this, but we had talked about these field dots. You can see at some times they look too large. Okay, especially if you go to this detail over here, they look too large because they are many, and they may make your work look a bit untidy. Okay, you can see when the slab, they look a bit too large. So what we need to do is create a different diameter from what we have by default. All right. So when you are creating your rebar, when you are creating your annotation tags, all right, when you are creating your annotation tags, your dimension style over here, multi-rebar dimension style, when you are creating it here, when it came to the interior tick mark display, you only had two options for the field dot. You actually had one, the field dot 2 millimeter, 2 millimeter. All right, and you have the heavy dot. So sometimes the field dot 2 millimeter is not sufficient. Okay, sometimes not sufficient. Sometimes it may make your work look, disorganized. So how do we get to add? How else do we get to add different diameters for this field dot? Okay, so that is the first thing. Then the other thing that I was hoping you guys noticed, or let's see if someone noticed. Let me highlight it. Okay, so I want you to look at my hatching over here. I want you to look at the hatching for this particular blinding. It is not very thick, right? It is not very thick. The hatching is very spaced. Did anyone notice that? Did anyone notice that some of these hatchings were too spaced, and they may not appear very, they may not appear really, really good? Please type one if you noticed this, if the hatching for these, the field region was not too, too appealing. So you can also make changes to this. You can make this appear. You can change this. You can change the how do I say this? The spacing for this shading over here. Right. So these are some of the things that you do when you are creating a template. So to make those changes, you do them in the additional settings. The additional settings are contained in the Manage tab. The additional settings are contained in the Manage tab. So you just go to the Manage tab, and then you go to Additional Settings. And then in the additional settings, you're going to click on this drop down, and you can see all the changes that you can do here. All right. So we can start with line styles. If you want to include a different line style, okay. If you want to include a different line style, you could always add new here, right? I won't do one for now because I think they are quite sufficient. But if you wanted to add a new one, you could do that. We are going to focus majorly on fill patterns and annotations. We are going to focus majorly on fill patterns and annotations, right? So you're going to go to fill patterns, and then in these fill patterns, you're going to see all the patterns that you usually have in the field region. Okay, you're going to see all the patterns you have in the field region. So for example, you can see sand dense over here. This is what you usually use for the this is what we usually use for the for the blinding, right? So I'm going to select this, and then I can click on edit field region pattern over here. All right, you can edit it or we can duplicate it. So let's duplicate it so that we can have a thicker or a more dense function of this sentence. All right, so just select it, and then in this page icon over here, click duplicate pattern. And then in the name, we could call it even, we could even call it blinding per se from here. All right, and then in the import scale, we are going to reduce the import scale at say something like 0.7, 0.7. So the lower you go, the less or the more dense they look. The lower you go, the more dense they look. The lower your scale is, the more dense they look. Okay, so the lower you go, the more dense they look. And you could do this for any particular hatch in Revit. If it's brickwork and you want uh, less spacing between them, you just select it, go to the pencil icon, and you change the import scale. They'll appear more closely spaced. So you could do this for basically any layer. All right. So that's just to show you what you can do there. Then we are going to go back to additional settings, and then this time we are going to go to annotation, and you are going to focus majorly on the arrowheads. All right. So if you come here to arrowheads, we have the various arrowheads that we have by default. So we have the arrow field, we have the field dots that we have, right? So you can make changes to any of them. So for example, I'll just do this example over here. I'll go to my field dot over here, and then I'll duplicate it. And I'll call it, say, 1.5 millimeter field dot. And then I'll click on OK. And then in the stick size, I'll change it from 2 to 1.5. And then I will apply. I can duplicate it again and even have 1 millimeter field dot, so that whenever you are working with your software, you don't have to fight so much. You just need to select a different size. Okay? You just need to select a different size. And that's all you need to do. That's how you do that. So that now if you go to your structural plans, where you have the details, say for your slab, let me see if I can find it here. Let me see if I can find it here. I see, but I can't find it. Am I tired or what is happening? Okay, I think is it. So instead of you having such large dots, we could just go to our aligned dimension. All right, multi-rebar dimension style, click on edit type. And then in the field dot 2 millimeter, initially we had only 2 millimeters. Now we have even 1 and 1.5. So you could just play around with that. Give it a moment to load. Okay. So you can see what you end up having with. They become smaller and they make your work look a bit neater. All right. So that is what you are working with. Sasa, please type a 1 if you found that helpful. Type a 1 if you found that helpful. Nice. So I can see we are together. So that is what we have. Okay, so now from there, the next thing that we need to do is basically work with the sheets. Okay, the next thing that we do is basically work with the sheets, and then we create a template from this particular project. All right, so that's what we need to do. So this is what you're going to do. I'm not going to be creating title blocks from scratch. That has already been covered. But if you wish to create title blocks from scratch, I think we could always plan another webinar for that. So basically just to focus on creating a template, just a basic one. So what you're going to look here, what you're going to look at here is that when you've worked on a project, you could have multiple, you can have multiple uh, Timothy, yes. So this is the idea behind it. When you are creating this tag, it had two components. It had the tag for, it had the tag itself, and had the dimension style. So when you are creating this multi-riba tag, it had two when you're creating the multi-riba tag, it had two components, the tag family and the dimension style. So in the tag family, you could have the multi-riba section and you could have the dimension style, right? So here, you could any multi-riba section that has this particular dimension style is going to be updated automatically, all right? But you could always create multiple so that you could always choose between them, all right, depending on the scale you are working with. All right, so just allow me to proceed. So we have our sections over here. You've already created a section. You've already created a section. You've already created a sheet, and you have these sheets over here. So when you're working with Revit the first time, you will have to create these sheets from scratch. All right. But once you have such a sheet, then there's no need of you having to create them afresh with each project, right? There's no need to do that. There's no need to basically do that, right? So what we need to do at this particular point is this. What we need to do at this particular point is this. We are going to save this as a template that has all these sheets. The only thing that I would want to do actually is add a schedule here for my section sheets so that they are always ordered. Okay, so that they are always ordered in my sheets. So I will add a schedule that is called the section sheets. All right. So I'll come to view. Okay, and then we're going to add a new schedule, and this is called the sheet list. And then in the sheet list, we are going to add a schedule over here. So you're going to add the sheet name, then the sheet number, and then you could also add the sheet size. Let me see if we have the size here. Well, we don't have the sheet size, so let me use height and see. Okay. I'll just use the two. And then I'll click on OK. And then with that, we have our sheet size over here, or our sheet list. Okay, so this one just shows you the order of your lists, and you could have it in your final book of drawings so that whoever is looking at your work can see what you are working with. So you can just rename them from here. So let me just have this as say S8 for now, and then rename this. So my foundation layout will be sheet 1, and then my beam and column layout will be S.2. My RC column layout will be S.3, and then this will be S.4, and then S.5, then S.6. So this is just a better way of managing your sheets. Just getting to rename them. S.8, S.9. Let's have S.10, sheet 10, and then you can have sheet 11. So this one is just a better way of renaming them. So you can see now, if I go to my sheets, they are now ordered. You can see they are now quite ordered. All right, and that's all you have to do. And then after you've done this, now this is the easiest part. Once we have done this, we have everything that we need from our project. So what we need to do next is basically create a template. What we need to do next is basically create a template to have all this information. All right. So this is just a basic template that we have created due to time constraints, but I'll share my personal template with you. This is just something that we have done due to, to time constraints, just to give you a brief understanding of how we create templates. So we have now saved a project, right? Now that you've saved a project, you need to create a template. So it is pretty simple to create a template. I'm just going to close the necessary tabs. Ensure you don't close the project. Just have the project open, and then go to File, click on New, and then Projects. And then you're going to click on Create Project Template, and then you can use the metric multidiscipline as just as a rough guide, and then click on OK. It is going to open a new project. Okay, I don't use the metric one. Let's create a new project. Go to File, New, and then creating the templates, browse. Let's have the structural defaults. Let's use the one that we have been using. Okay. Let's use the one that we have been using. Click on project template over here. So here you're saving it as a project template. Click on project template and click on OK. All right. So we have a template over here. Then the next thing that we want to do is now copy these standards to this empty template. We don't want to copy the columns themselves. We just want to copy the standards, the settings, and the families. So to do that, you go to Manage, and then you go to Transfer Project Standards. For you to transfer project standards, the project has to be open. And that's why I was saying you have to have a project that you have worked on and understand what you want in your template. All right? You go to Transfer Project Standards, and then copy from projects. I go with the project that we have been using. You can check all, and then click on OK. This usually takes a minute or two to do. And then just overwrite everything. Click on Overwrite Everything. And then give it a moment to load. Okay, so we now have, let me see how that, copy from project one, sorry. Just a minute. Let me see what we have here. Okay, so you can see this. Now when it comes to this particular point, we have our objects loaded. Okay, so once you transfer the templates, you're going to notice this. So when you come here, you will have your elements loaded, right? So if you went to structure and wanted to model a column, you're going to notice now under columns. Sorry, I don't know what is not happening. I don't know what is not happening. Just give me a moment. Now, just give me a moment. Let me close this template. Okay, let me go to my projects, manage, transfer project standards. Okay. Okay, let me see what I'm doing wrong. Okay. Okay, let me open a new project. So instead of opening a new template, let's open a new project rather. Open a new project, not a template. We are going to open a new project, not template. Open a new project. Okay. Once you open a new project, go to manage, transfer project standards from our project and click on OK. Overwrite everything. Overwrite everything. Not sure why it is acting up. And let's see you. Not sure what I'm doing wrong over here. Let me just look at what is not being imported. Okay, so we have imported the project standards. So I want us to look at what has actually been imported. Okay, so I want you to look at what has been imported. So if we go to say the dimension styles for now, you're going to see the roads up dimension styles have been created. Also, the multi-river dimension styles have already been loaded. Right? So the settings that we have been applied, the families, the columns and the beams families have probably not been affected. I don't know why that is, but they have not been affected. But if you look at most of the troublesome issues, such as the annotations, say a multi-river tag, if you look at them, most of them have been sorted. You can see all the families that you had in your previous projects, they have been sorted. You have your hollow quote tags and also your slab tags that you needed. All right. So you could always use this to create your own templates. And then for the sheets, I just click on sheets and then I load my sheets here. They should have come automatically, but I don't understand why they did not appear, but it's okay. So I just load them. I'll just load them. Let me see my sheets. So you could just save all your sheets here, load all your sheets, and then you're going to have them over here. So you could have your sheets over here, and then so that whenever you need to change to a different sheet, you could always select them from the title block or from the sheets itself. And the other thing that you may need to do is, but basically nothing else. I'm not sure why it's not copying all the project standards. I think I'll look into it tomorrow. But basically that's how you should create your own templates. All right. So I think with that we could call it a day. I hope you learned one or two things, and I hope you're going to find these valuable. So thank you for attending today's session. and see you in the next class or in the next session. We're going to be having a couple of webinars. So stay tuned and please always join us. Thank you and have a good night.